Math 83, Unit 1, Lesson 6. We're going to solve an equation or formula for an indicated variable. So in number 1, we're trying to solve for y. So this is what we're trying to get all by itself, y. And here it is in the equation. So to get y by itself, we have to get rid of this plus 7. And we do that by subtracting 7 from both sides of the equation. So the 7 minus 7 turns to 0, and we bring down the y. And then we have x minus 7. We can't combine those because those are not like terms. So now we have solved for y. In number 2, we're supposed to solve for b. Here's b in the equation. We're trying to get that by itself. So what we're going to have to do is get rid of this minus c. We do that by adding c to both sides. Minus c plus c turns to 0. And we bring down this b, and we have 5 plus c on the right hand of the equation. In number 3, we're trying to solve for x. Here's x in the equation. That means we have to get rid of the minus y. We do that by adding y to both sides. Goes away here. We bring down the x, and we have negative 4 plus y on the right hand side. In number 4, we're trying to solve for d, and here's d in the equation right here. So next to it is an a, and dA means d times a. So to get d by itself, we're going to have to divide both sides by a, so that this a and this a divide out, and we get d by itself. So d is going to equal a negative 4y over a. In number 4, we're trying to get y by itself here. Here's y in my equation. I have an x in front of it. xy means x times y, so we're going to have to do the opposite and divide both sides by x, so that this x and this x divide out, and we get y equals 7b over x. In number 5, we're trying to solve for c. Here's c in my equation. Well, I have 1/2 a, b, c all next to each other. So that all means 1/2 times a times b times c. So to solve, we're going to have to get rid of the 1/2 and the a and the b. Well, first, let's deal with the number 1/2. If I multiply both sides of the equation by 2, then 1/2 of 2 is going to be 1, and I'll end up with a, b, c on this right-hand side, and then a 2x on the left-hand side. Now I can go ahead and solve for c by dividing both sides by ab. This a and a divide out, this b and b divide out, so now I have c alone. 2x over ab, so c equals 2x over ab. In number 6, we're solving for x. So here's x in my equation. I have 7x plus y, so the first thing I have to move out of the way is the y. So I'm going to subtract y from both sides to do that. And then this plus y minus y go away, and I bring down 7x. And on the right hand side we have 5 minus y. Now I can go ahead and get rid of the 7. It's 7 times x, so I'm going to divide both sides by 7, and that way this 7 and 7 divide out, and I get x alone. X is going to equal 5 minus y over 7. In number 7 over here, we're trying to solve for y, and here's y in my equation. I'm trying to get that y by itself. So the first thing I have to move out of the way is the 2x. So I'm going to subtract 2x from both sides. And that way this 2x minus 2x goes away on the left-hand side, and I can bring down my 3y, and I have 6 minus 2x on the right-hand side. Now I can get rid of the 3. 3y means 3 times y, so I'll do the opposite and divide both sides by 3. And I'll end up with y equals 6 minus 2x over 3. In number 8, I'm trying to get x by itself, and here's x in my equation. So I have to get rid of this y first. To do that, since it's a positive y, I'm going to have to subtract y from both sides. And this y minus y goes away, and I want to bring down the negative 4x. And on the right-hand side, we have 5 minus y. Now, to get rid of the negative 4, since it's negative 4 times x, we'll divide both sides by negative 4. These divide out, and I get x equals 5 minus y over negative 4. In number 9, we're trying to solve for y, and here's y in my equation. Well, before I can even start, I am going to have to distribute this 3 so that it will be much easier to solve for y. So to do that, we can rewrite this as 3x minus 6y equals z. Now I can get rid of this 3x by subtracting both sides by 3x. Now I can bring down the negative 6y, and I get z minus 3x, and then I can divide both sides by negative 6. Now y is going to equal z minus 3x over negative 6. In number 10, we have the distance formula d equals rt, and we're going to solve for r. Well, here's r in the equation. To get r by itself, we're going to have to divide both sides by t. Therefore, this t and this t divide out, and we get r alone, and r is going to equal d over t. The volume of a cylinder is V equals pi r squared h. And if we want to solve for h, it's right here in the formula. We need to get rid of the pi and the r squared. Well, they're all being multiplied together. So all we need to do is divide both sides of the equation by pi r squared. The pi's divide out and the r squares divide out, and we're left with just h alone on the right hand side, and h is going to equal v over pi r squared. In number 12, we want to consider the pair of equations y minus 15x equals 3 and y plus 8 equals 7x. And we want to take both of those equations and solve them each for y. So let's take a look at the first one. To get y by itself, here's y in the equation. I need to move over that minus 15x, and I do that by adding 15x to both sides of the equation. I get y alone here, because the minus 15x and plus 15x go away, and I get 3 plus 15x. So I took care of the first equation. Now in B, we want to solve for y. Here's y in the equation. We have a plus 8, so I want to do the opposite and subtract 8 from both sides. That way this plus 8 and minus 8 go away, and I'm left with y equals 7x minus 8. In part C, we want to equate the expressions found in A and B to find an equation in terms of x. So in part A, y equals 3 plus 15x, and in part B, y equals 7x minus 8, we can go ahead and set those equal to one another. 3 plus 15x then is going to equal 7x minus 8. Since both of these are equal to y, we can set them equal to one another. Now we want to go ahead and get x alone, and that's what it says to do here. We want to solve for x. So we're going to subtract 7x from both sides to get those x's together on the left-hand side. We rewrite this as 3 plus 15x minus 7x is 8x. 7x minus 7x is 0. And then we bring down the minus 8. We're going to continue to solve for x, so to do that we have to subtract 3 from both sides. 3 minus 3 is 0, so we're left with 8x equals, and negative 8 minus 3 is going to be negative 11. We're going to continue to solve for x, and we do that by dividing both sides by 8. 8 divided by 8 is 1, so we get x alone, and that's going to be negative 11/8. Now it said here that our answer was going to be a fraction, and yes, indeed, it was. So now for part E, we want to solve for y. And we want to substitute our x value of a negative 11/8 in place of x in one of the equations that we solve for y in either A or B. So I'll just choose the equation from A. I've rewritten them down here so we could see them again. So I'm going to take this negative 11/8 and I'm going to substitute it in place of x here in this first equation and then solve for y. So I'm going to rewrite this as y equals 3 plus 15, and in place of x, we'll substitute a negative 11/8. Now we're going to solve for y. First, we can put a 1 underneath the 15, make it look like a fraction, and since we have to multiply these fractions first for our order of operations, you have to multiply before we add. I'm going to rewrite this as 3 plus and go ahead and multiply across. So 15 times negative 11 is a negative 165. And then 1 times 8 is 8. Now to add the whole number 3 to the fraction negative 165 over 8, we're going to have to find a common denominator. And since 3 is a whole number, its denominator is 1. So to find a common denominator between 1 and 8, both 1 and 8 go into 8, so I can rewrite these with 8 as a denominator. To go from 1 to 8, I had to multiply by 8, so I have to do the same thing to the numerator. So 8 times 3 is 24. And then this negative 165 over 8 can just stay because it already has a denominator of 8. Now, when adding fractions, you keep the denominator the same. So both denominators here are 8, so we keep that the same, and we just go ahead and add the numerators. So 24 plus a negative 165 is going to be a negative 141. Therefore, y is going to equal negative 141 over 8. And now I have solved both for x and for y.